It's been a long time. I should not have left you without a Back to the Mac episode to step two. Step two. Wicked. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? This is Jeff Benjamin with 9 to 5 Mac. This is episode number 10 of Back to the Mac. Yes, there's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back talking about everything the Mac, and I'm excited. Now to celebrate, we're gonna talk about my favorite subject currently on the Mac, and I'm gonna give you 3 guesses to figure out what that is. No, obviously not. What do crickets have to do with the Mac? Yes, eGPUs, obviously, but in this episode, we're gonna do things a little bit different, so check it out. Now, before we continue, I just wanna go ahead and remind you guys that the thumbs ups that you leave me help a lot, so if you appreciate this video, please thumbs up, and also subscribe if you haven't done so, and click that little bell icon so that you're notified when new episodes air. Okay, so let's get started. This is the Sonnet eGFX Breakaway Box 650W. It comes with an Apple recommendation, and it is the most powerful external graphics chassis that Apple recommends. Now, I already have one of these from a previous review, but we just got another, and that's going to allow us to use both of these external graphics boxes at the same time with our MacBook Pro. Now, if you haven't already seen our unboxing and review of the Sonnet eGFX Breakaway Box, you can check that out right here in the upper right-hand corner. Now, there is one thing. This box doesn't come with a GPU inside already, so you have to add your own card. So what card are we gonna add? Are we gonna add the Vega 64? No, we've done that already. What about the RX 580? No, we've done that as well. Now, this isn't the first time that I've attempted a dual eGPU setup on the Mac with DaVinci Resolve. Previously though, it was sort of a hodgepodge, sort of a mixed match of GPU chassis and GPUs. But now, thanks to Sonnet for providing that extra Breakaway Box 650W, and also special shout out to AMD for providing 2 Radeon Pro WX 9100 professional workstation GPUs to test this with. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the results. So yep, you heard right, 2 Radeon Pro WX 9100 GPUs based on the Vega 64 architecture. So these are workstation grade GPUs. Each one has 6 mini DisplayPort connections, and really these GPUs are aimed at professional workflows. It supports 10-bit color, and instead of 8 GB of HBM2 memory like on the RX Vega 64, it comes with 16 GB of HBM2 memory. And again, it's based on that Vega architecture, so if you've used something like an RX Vega 64 in the past, then you'll have a ballpark idea as to what to expect from the WX 9100. So let's get started. Let's head over to our MacBook Pro, load up DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is the paid version of DaVinci Resolve. It allows you to use multiple GPUs, which is really cool. So if we go to Preferences and go to Hardware Configuration under System, you'll see right now it's using the integrated graphics, the Plus Graphics 655 from Intel. So watch what happens when I play back this timeline, or at least attempt to play back this timeline with effects. So you can see the frame rate is like 2 frames per second on a 24 frames per second video. So like 1.5 frames per second, basically terrible performance. You can see that the GPU is maxing out there on the GPU history, on the activity monitor. But we're gonna go ahead and try to export and render this video anyway. And you can see 1 frame per second, 1.5 frames per second. It's painful, folks. And it's saying it's gonna take 4 hours and some change before this export is done. So we're just gonna stop that because it's ridiculous to even think about attempting something like that. So do you see where I'm going with this? We have 2 WX 9100s right here in front of us. We have 2 Thunderbolt 3 cables connected to the Sonnet eGFX Breakaway Box 650. I'm gonna plug those into my 2018 13-inch MacBook Pro, load up DaVinci Resolve Studio 14 again, and go right back to the preferences and start configuring this thing to use those GPUs. So let's open up our test timeline, go back to hardware configuration. You can see right now it's using one of the video cards, but I'm gonna set GPU processing mode to metal and GPU selection to manual, and now I can selectively decide which GPUs I want to enable. So I have both of them checked. Go to Save, I'm gonna close out of DaVinci Resolve, and then open it back up again. And now it should be utilizing both of those GPUs at the same time. Now watch what happens. First of all, we're gonna go back just to confirm, yes, it is using both. All right, now watch what happens when we play back this timeline. I have my GPU history there so you can see what goes on. All right, so let's go to our editing page. Let's close out of the effects library, close out of the media pool, and now let's move our playhead and start playing back. And you can see, folks, right off the bat, 24 frames per second playback speed. Real-time playback with tons of effects on the timeline. And now we're going to try to export and see how it does. So we're going to make this a 4K export, 4,500 kilobits per second. Add it to the render queue, start the render. And now you'll see under the GPU history, well, first of all, you see the frame rate is faster than real time. Again, 24 frames per second project, it is exporting at about 27 frames per second or so, give or take a frame or two. So here are the statistics, folks. This is what you want to pay attention to. Notice that first chart, DaVinci Resolve export, no effects. You see with that Intel Iris Plus, 2,520 seconds, 581 with the dual WX 9100 setup. And then notice how crazy it is with effects, 13,000 seconds, 843 with that dual eGPU setup, and 1212 with a single GPU. So it definitely makes a difference having discrete graphics. And then OpenCL, you can see just how much of a difference an external GPU makes. Having two of them basically doubles the performance. Run circles around that integrated GPU. So here's where things get really interesting. So I have the iMac Pro, right? And it's no slouch by itself with its own discrete Vega 56 GPU. So I am playing back 3 instances of DaVinci Resolve with effects on timelines. You can see that the playback speed isn't real time, it's actually below. So you're having some lag, you're having some stutters on playback with all 3 of these. It just isn't pretty. Now, watch when I'm using the 2 WX 9100s and I'm playing back all 3 of these timelines simultaneously. Real-time playback, folks. No lag, no stutters. I can move the playhead, it resumes right off the bat. So it makes a big difference. Even with the iMac Pro, you're going to notice a difference, especially when you start multitasking. These GPUs are built with their asynchronous architecture to handle workloads like this. Playing it back with no effort, folks, and still have a little bit of headroom to go, as you can see there in the GPU history. So you can be exporting on one project, editing on the other, doing color on the other, and you'll be good. So folks, as you just saw, eGPUs can make a big difference in your workflow under certain circumstances. For instance, with DaVinci Resolve, it can turn a 13-inch MacBook Pro from a machine that's basically unusable in certain situations. We saw how slow it was with DaVinci Resolve exports when there were effects on the timeline, and take that machine and make it something usable. You can connect 1, 2, 3, even 4 GPUs to your MacBook Pro at the same time and really see the benefits in certain situations. Now, obviously an eGPU isn't for everybody, it isn't for every situation, but it definitely seems like Apple is making a concerted effort to really support eGPUs, make it more of a mainstream thing. In fact, in the latest Mojave beta that's coming out this fall, you can now selectively drive individual applications on an app-by-app basis with external graphics, and that's really exciting. And even with Pro machines that really don't technically need additional assistance, like the iMac Pro for instance, we saw the benefits when we had 2 external graphics chassis connected to the iMac Pro. It made it possible to work with multiple DaVinci Resolve projects at the same time, maybe exporting in one project and editing the timeline in another, and maybe doing color in another. It really is a powerful tool to have at your disposal. So if you appreciate coverage of eGPUs, please let me know down below in the comment section. If there's anything else you want to see regarding eGPUs, leave that down below as well. But we will have much more coverage in the future, I can guarantee you that. And who knows, maybe we'll do a video about using 4 eGPUs at the same time. So thank you very much for watching this latest episode of Back to the Mac. Stay tuned next week because we have a very exciting show, something I can't wait to show you next week. I'll give you a little hint. It's very fast. This is Jeff with 9 to 5 Mac.